140,000 bankruptcy cases given discharge so far. Selangor to boost Malaysia's gross domestic product. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight and my name is Daryl Baptist. Tonight's bulletin begins with a glimmer of hope for those who may be finding themselves in financial plight. The government has succeeded in surpassing the bankruptcy release target with a total of 142,510 cases through the second chance policy, compared to the initial target of 130,000 cases. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said his policy is one of the initiatives under the principle of compassion implemented to help the people in need.
Sejak merdeka sampai sekarang belum pernah mana-mana kerajaan yang mampu menyelesaikan 142,500 kes bankrupt, tetapi saudara-saudara telah bantu menyelesaikan dan ini harus diketahui. Sebab itu saya memilih untuk mengulangi kenyataan ini supaya difahami oleh rakyat. Kemudian sementara mereka itu boleh bernafas, kita ada suntikan tunai rahmah, dana yang disediakan oleh kerajaan yang kepada 9 juta rakyat. Berapa jumlah dia? 10 bilion ringgit. 10 bilion ringgit satu tahun. Hanya cash transfer kepada rakyat, ya, terutama M40 dan B40. M40 dan B40 yang berjumlah 9 juta rakyat. Ini memberikan nafas sementara mereka boleh menjalankan perniagaan dan kegiatan baru.
The second chance policy was announced by Datuk Seri Anwar during the Budget 2024 presentation. Renewals to this policy will be announced in this year's budget tabling in the coming month of October. The policy is extended to bankrupts to provide them the opportunity to return to contribute to the national economy and live a new life. On another note, the government will soon conduct a feasibility study for the proposed corporatization of the Malaysian Department of Insolvency, or MDI, in line with the global best practice. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Seri Azalina Othman, said the study will take into account the views of local and foreign experts in cross-border insolvency as well as public opinion.
Saya berharap untuk mewujudkan pada tahun 2025 dengan kewujudan MDI dapat menjalankan kajian kebolehlaksanaan bagi cadangan memperbadankan MDI kalau pihak Kabinet dan Yang Amat Berhormat sebagai pengurusi kepada Kabinet Malaysia dapat memberikan sokongan supaya ini menjadi global practices seperti mana pendekatan-pendekatan insolvensi syarikat-syarikat dalam negara-negara maju.
The MDI, an agency under Datuk Seri Azalina's purview, is tasked with managing bankruptcy cases and the affairs of bankrupt individuals. It also administers companies that have been liquidated, as well as organizations and trade unions whose registrations have been revoked. Moving on, 63.35% of the nearly 300 kilometres of the Central Spine Road, or LTU, connecting the East Coast Expressway, also known as the LPT Junction in Bentong Pahang to Kuala Krai, Kelantan, has been completed. Works Minister Datuk Seri Alexander Nanta Linggi said as of 10th July, there was a delay of 0.39% from the scheduled 63.74%, taking into account the approved extension of time. The LTU project, implemented in phases since 2008, is subject to central agency approval, in which 11 projects have been completed, 14 are under construction, and 1 is in the procurement process. Datuk Seri Nanta said Package 1 from Kuala Krai to the Sungai Langkit Bridge is 11.59% complete, and Package 2 from the Sungai Langkit Bridge to Gua Musang is 22.40% complete. Meanwhile, Package 3 from Gua Musang to Kampong Relong is 84.25% complete. Package 4 from Kampong Relong to Raub is 63.69% complete. And Package 5 from Raub to Bentong has been opened to users. Package 6 from Bentong to the LTP junction is 30.07% complete. The LTU is expected to shorten the journey time from Kuala Lumpur to Gua Musang to just 3 hours. The Defence Ministry is moving in line with current technological developments in an effort to strengthen aspects of national security, including against cyber attacks. Defence Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid Nordin said non-traditional attacks or threats in the field of defence often occur, but the ministry is always prepared to curb such threats. He said there should not be gaps in the country's defence, and what is most important is that the strength and the ability needed to deal with cyber threats.
Kita memang beri perhatian kepada cyber security kerana kita percaya bahawa di masa yang akan datang dan kita memang terima hakikat bahawa cyber threat, ancaman cyber itu adalah antara ancaman bukan tradisional dalam bidang pertahanan. Jadi di negara ni kita memang beri perhatian dan fokus untuk mempertingkatkan kerana teknologi berubah.
In March, the minister was reported to have said that the country's defence system receives about 3,000 cyber attacks every day, especially after Malaysia expressed support for Palestine. He said the attack involving various parties was not only aimed at spying on Malaysia's movements against the conflict in Gaza, but they also hacked the country's defence system. Adding to that, the government is committed to tackling the increasingly rampant issue of cybercrime. This is evidenced by the government's actions to review and take immediate measures, as well as coordinate investigations and prosecutions of cybercrime cases. The president of the Malaysian Cyber Consumer Association, Sirajuddin Jalil, stated that such enforcement actions against cyber offenders are proactive steps to ensure the safety of users, especially on social media platforms.
Usaha yang telah dibuat oleh pihak kerajaan hari ini memang dilihat sangat serius melalui beberapa polisi yang berjaya dibentuk oleh kerajaan hari ini. Sebagai contoh, Akta Keselamatan Cyber berjaya dibentuk pada sidang parlimen yang lepas, dan juga berkenaan pembentukan Kementerian Digital. Itu juga sebagai satu langkah yang proaktif oleh kerajaan dalam mengekang isu terkait tentang jenayah cyber. Perlu ada satu usaha yang berterusan dan usaha yang lebih lagi, sebab aspek jenayah cyber ini dia tidak stagnan. Dia sentiasa berevolusi dan tahap evolusi itu juga selari dengan perubahan teknologi.
Sirajuddin also emphasized that society needs to play its part and use social media platforms more responsibly, thus creating a safe environment for all users. And now an update from our digital ministry, who has advised all parties in the country seeking information technology or IT services and assistance following the global IT outage on 19th July to ensure that the company is legitimate and qualified. Minister Gobind Singh Dio said the ministry has detected several irresponsible parties creating domains, such as websites, to gather information and misuse the data that they obtain. He said the ministry, through the National Cybersecurity Agency, or NACSA, and Cybersecurity Malaysia, CSM, has looked into the matter and hopes the people and companies will be more vigilant about its attacks and the presence of such parties.
Ada pihak yang menghulurkan bantuan, menyatakan mereka boleh selesaikan dan sebagainya. Kita kena pastikan bahawa pihak yang tersebut itu adalah pihak yang yang sahih dan buat yang memang pakar di dalam bidang-bidang yang mereka sebut itu. Kalau tidak, kita akan membuka ruang untuk keadaan di mana data kita diberikan dan data itu disalahgunakan.
He said this to reporters after the groundbreaking ceremony of the TM and Singtel Nixera Data Center campus in Iskandar Putri EduCity today. Gobin said last week's incident was not an IT attack, but rather a system update, and the public need not worry as there was no data leakage. Index rises in May 2024, indicating a resilient economy. The federal government is depending on Selangor to boost Malaysia's gross domestic product, or GDP. Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz said today, noting the state's remarkable contribution to the national economy. Met at the 8th Selangor ASEAN Business Conference, or SABC, today, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul said major investments in the manufacturing and services sector have positioned Selangor as Malaysia's leading hub for innovation and economic growth.
Terlihat KDNK Malaysia ni 25% ada daripada negeri Selangor, dan ialah negeri ini pun adalah high income state ya. Dan pada masa yang sama, if you look at the industries in Selangor, mereka memberi fokus kepada digital dan hijau juga, and this are selari dengan our National Industrial Master Plan, dan banyak our industrial park di Selangor ni alhamdulillah telah menunjukkan prestasi yang baik, dan ini memberi peluang kepada pelabur-pelabur domestik dan juga asing untuk set up syarikat mereka atau kilang mereka di negeri Selangor.
He then noted Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Amiruddin Syari's previous statement about Selangor aiming to contribute a whopping 500 billion ringgit to the national economy within the next 3 years through expansion in key manufacturing sectors such as semiconductors and green technology. The SABC, held from today until Saturday, is part of the first series of the Selangor International Business Summit 2024. Next up, some updates from our Deputy Prime Minister. The decision by the Ministry of Rural and Regional Development, or KKDW, to close and merge 23 unprofitable subsidiary companies has led to a significant improvement in the performance of companies under the ministry, according to Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid, who also heads KKDW, said that an initial report he received stated that 100 subsidiary companies under the ministry had shown overall profitability. He said the companies have successfully transitioned from cost centres to profit centres, an early achievement for KKDW.
Keseluruhannya memperoleh keuntungan ya. Ada beberapa syarikat yang dapat teguran daripada Ketua Audit Negara, itu telah saya tangani kerana ianya dibuat oleh Menteri pada tahun 2012 dulu ya, dan kami terpaksa membetulkan keadaan ini.
He said this to reporters after delivering a speech at the main program of the ministry's retreat at the Desaru Convention Centre in Kota Tinggi today. He added that merging the unprofitable subsidiaries with profitable ones had also prevented staff layoffs. Earlier in his speech, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid mentioned that among the subsidiaries that recorded profits in the first 6 months of this year were Perda Venture with a profit of 2.7 million ringgit and the Kedah Group of companies with 243,706 ringgit. A total of 3.4 million of the 13.1 million employees' Provident Fund, commonly known as EPF, members under the age of 55 have made withdrawals from the flexible account amounting to 8.9 billion ringgit as of 19th July 2024. Finance Minister too, Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah Azizan, said that for the same period, a total of 3.8 million or 29.3% of EPF members chose to have the initial amount in the flexible account, also known as Account 3, with a transfer of 12.6 billion ringgit, while 5.6 billion ringgit was transferred to the retirement account, known as Account 1. He said the transfer to the retirement account increased members' savings, with the addition of 43,000 new members having reached the basic savings level.
Pengeluaran daripada akaun fleksibel tidak memberi kesan ketara kepada KWSP kerana jangkaan jumlah pengeluaran oleh ahli adalah dalam lingkungan alokasi tunai dan pasaran wang KWSP.
He said this in a question and answer session at the Senate today. Regarding implications for the national economy, Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah said the initial estimate of the flexible account withdrawals in the first year is around 15 billion ringgit, or about 0.8% of Malaysia's nominal gross domestic product for 2023. The minister also stressed that the restructuring of EPF accounts is aimed at improving the security of retirement income and giving members access to the flexible account at any time and for any purpose, especially for emergencies. Here's a bit of promising news for future home buyers. The proposed Urban Redevelopment Act, which aims to facilitate the renewal of certain identified properties, could revitalize urban landscapes for the benefit of the people. Professor Dr. Mariana Muhammad Osman of IIUM said the Act can help protect the rights of the community and help the involved area escape economic stagnation by maximizing the land use.
Through the Act itself, the government can propose, for example, activities that can protect the rights of the people or the aggrieved. For example, the government can propose, even though we have what we can say acquisition, but the property that will be acquired will need to be based on market value, for example. So this can also assist or protect the aggrieved or the resident, the existing resident within the area.
Addressing concerns that large-scale redevelopment plans might be difficult to be implemented successfully, Professor Dr. Mariana said a public-private partnership can ease the execution of projects that require huge funding.
So we need to have a good private developer with funding to ensure that this project can be implemented successfully, because urban regeneration project or urban renewal project usually take times. It can take up to, for example, 10 years. So we have to ensure that the development need to be completed. For example, the government need to ensure that. So that is very important.
Speaking to Malaysia Tonight, she further explained that the Urban Redevelopment Act can create economic viability and strong market demands in the area. It can also improve the environment of the previously run-down area and economic equity among the people.
A lot of projects, the government can ensure, for example, provision of affordable housing. So this is very important because we want a mixed type of resident within an area. So by ensuring affordable housing, people who are low income and medium income would be able, for example, to live within this area itself. A lot of it would go for economic regeneration, creation of job opportunity, creation of investment, a creation of good urban image to the area itself.
As urban redevelopment programs provide more employment opportunities, Professor Dr. Mariana noted that the Act would benefit all levels of society, including low and high income families, improving their social and economic conditions. More good news for property buyers. Khazanah Research Institute, or KRI, meanwhile has suggested a migration to the build and sell housing buying scheme in Malaysia, where housing developers must complete a housing project before selling the houses in order to protect the consumers. Its Director of Research, Dr. Suraya Ismail, explained that under this system, home buyers would not bear the commercial and construction risks associated with housing development. Currently, Malaysian developers practice the Sell Then Buy, or STB, scheme, where houses are sold and progress payments are collected while construction is ongoing. Dr. Suraya also urged relevant parties to make housing prices genuinely affordable. According to data from the National Property Information Centre, Department of Statistics Malaysia and KRI calculations, the median house price rose at a compounded annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 23%, from 170,000 ringgit to 270,000 ringgit between 2012 and 2014. Citing a Bank Negara Malaysia report, she said that the household debt to gross domestic product, or GDP, ratio increased from 67.2% in 2002 to 84.2% in 2023. She also suggested discontinuing housing mortgages with long durations, such as those exceeding 35 years or intergenerational loans. To all our Penangites watching tonight, here's something else you can gloat about. World-renowned travel portal Lonely Planet has placed Pulau Penang in the top 2 best Southeast Asia destinations for solo travellers, citing the island's vibrant street food and creative local culture. On its website, Lonely Planet said that UNESCO-listed Georgetown is a treasure trove of decorated pre-war shophouses and clan houses amidst cafes and an imaginative street art scene. It added that the location is packed with street vendors for solo travellers to enjoy budget meals as low as 10 ringgit at popular hawker stalls at New Lane, Kimberley Street and Chulia Street. Other than its melting pot of Malay, Chinese and Indian influences, the Peranakan culture is also evident in the city, with a museum and hotels such as Cheong Fat Si and Edison Georgetown capitalizing on its intricate designs. The website also read, for the solo visitor who loves serendipitous street discoveries, the city rewards with its pretty and delicious surprises. Singapore tops the list, followed by Pulau Penang, Da Nang, Vietnam, Siem Reap, Cambodia, Bangkok, Thailand, Hanoi, Vietnam, and Bali, Indonesia. Meanwhile, State Tourism and Creative Economy Committee Chairman Wong Hon Wai congratulated the state for making it into the top 2 on the list. Malaysia's nominal GDP for 2023 reached 1.8 trillion ringgit, according to the Department of Statistics, also known as DOSM. Growth, meanwhile, slowed to 1.6%, down from 15.9% in 2022. Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzir Mahidin noted the economy's resilience was driven by a 6.7% rise in private consumption, supported by job improvements and a new minimum wage of 1,500 ringgit from May 2023. The GDP statistics comprise compensation of employees, or CE, gross operating surplus, GOS, and net taxes. CE grew by 4.2% due to a labour market recovery, while GOS fell by 1.8%. CE's share of income distribution, meanwhile, increased to 33.1%, while GOS still contributed 64.8% to GDP, down 2.3%, with net taxes at 2.1%. CE increases were mainly from the services, manufacturing and construction sectors, with services up by 4.3%. GOS declines were driven by sharp drops in mining, agriculture and manufacturing, impacted by falling commodity prices. However, growth in services and construction helped soften this decline. On another note, net taxes rose by 242% to 37.7 billion ringgit due to higher revenues. Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzir highlighted that CE in Southeast Asia is below 40% of GDP, whereas advanced economies have CE shares above 50%. And now for the highlight story of our business segment. Malaysia saw its leading index, or LI, grow 3.8% year-on-year to 114.2 points in May 2024 from 110.0 points in the same period last year. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, or DOSM, Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzir Mahidin said in a statement today that the growth reflected a resilient economy underpinned by increasing tourism activities and promising external demand. LI is a tool utilized for predicting economic trends for an average of 4 to 6 months ahead. Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzir said Malaysia's LI has maintained its positive growth for 6 consecutive months, primarily supported by a sturdy gain in the Bursa Malaysia Industrial Index, followed by real imports of other basic precious and other non-ferrous metals. On a month-on-month or MOM basis, he said the LI edged up 0.8%, mainly contributed by the number of new companies registered in May 2024. On the Coincident Index, or CI, which reflects the current state of the economy, DOSM said the index increased 2.2% year-on-year to 126.1 points in May 2024, mainly driven by the robust performance in the real contributions of the Employees Provident Fund, or EPF. The Malaysia Semiconductor Industry Association, abbreviated to MSIA, aims to boost semiconductor exports to 1.2 trillion ringgit by 2030. MSIA President Datuk Seri Wong Siu Hai stated that this goal reinforces Malaysia's status as the 6th largest exporter globally and reflects a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of about 7.6% from the current export value. To achieve this growth, the President emphasised the need for Malaysia to enhance its capabilities across the semiconductor value chain, focusing on advanced packaging, integrated circuit, also known as IC, design, and smart manufacturing. He also highlighted the importance of government collaboration with local industries to address existing challenges, particularly the talent shortage. Datuk Seri Wong noted that the industry must source foreign talent to fill gaps in the local workforce. Currently, Malaysia has between 10,000 and 20,000 foreign talents, and efforts can be made to offer employment opportunities to foreign students studying science and engineering in the country. In 2023, Malaysian semiconductor exports fell by 3% to 575.45 billion ringgit, down from a record 593 billion ringgit in 2022. That concludes this evening's Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, more than 140,000 bankruptcy cases given discharge so far. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Darryl Baptist. I hope you've all had an electrifying Thor's Day or a regular Thursday for you non-comic book fans. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Good night.